Hi, I just want to say a warm hello to the Massa community. I'm Brian, I'm a CMO, and this is Damir, our CTO and co-founder.
Hello.
Yeah, just wanted to answer a bunch of community questions and just sort of explain our progress and what's going on. Right now, we are being readied for the mainnet, which is imminent, and it's all going great. Right now, we're reaching the final stages. KYC is happening now, as everybody knows and has been announced. And right now, the build net is in a state where it's very, very close to what it will be at the main net, which is coming right up. And we've made a thing called SecureNet, which people can participate in right now. It's a bug bounty program where you can try and poke holes in it and try and hack it. And we've set aside 1 million Massa tokens to incentivize that. And we're listed by Certic, who's our security audit partner, as being one of the top 3 most secure projects for on testnet pre-launch. So let's see how secure it is, and then we'll be ready to go. And then yeah, I wanted to then turn it over to Damir and just ask a bunch of questions about the community. Is there anything that you want to say right now, or should I just dive into what the community's been asking?
Yeah, so thank you all for your patience, first of all. It's been a long time we've been developing this project, and we are finally nearing the end of the development, and this is very good. Uh, the tech is essentially ready. We are running this bug bounty program, but things are in place. We are technically ready to launch. We are figuring out the last legal parts, but it should be there soon. So here you go. Feel free to ask your questions.
All right. I guess one of the first things is what's up with the dashboard asking for addresses? Like it's asking for everybody's addresses and why?
So you're aware that we are reaching mainnet soon. The current state of the code ensures that the format of addresses and private keys are typically the ones that are going to be there for the mainnet. That's good news. It also means that it's time for us to gather all you people's addresses, Massa addresses, so that we can use them for mainnet and maybe to give you some surprises. We'll see. So the address is now a requirement. Everybody has to fill it up on the dashboard. It needs to be generated safely. So first of all, we recommend that you use recommended official wallets. So Massa Station, the command line wallet of Massa. But of course, you can also use community wallets. There are a few. That being said, we have not audited them, so be aware of the risks if there's a backdoor or something in them. We haven't looked at the code, so I prefer to warn you of the danger there. Also, please don't reuse existing addresses because there's been many cases where people have tried to reuse an address that they used elsewhere, for example, the quests or for node running. The idea here is that we ask everyone to create a fresh new address to make sure that there's no risk of collisions, no risk of theft of private key. And of course, make sure that your secrets are safe, that your private key is safe, that you will not lose it because we cannot recover it. And of course, that nobody else can see it. And essentially, once you have filled up your address in the dashboard, it's going to tell you that your current address is the address you have given. And once you have done that, it's going to unlock the next possibilities.
Okay. And people are also asking about KYC, like, why some people are seeing it, not others, and what the requirements are of it, and how it's working, and why we're doing it.
So first of all, Massa, I need to understand that Massa is a permissionless system. So once it's launched, there's no KYC, there's nothing that holds. The market is free. Everybody can run the node without KYC, no problem. The KYC, however, is a legal requirement beforehand. So before we launch, for the initial distribution and any kind of token drops, etc., that we might do, it will be a requirement. So it's a legal requirement for any kind of token rewards, but it only applies to some cases. And KYC is essentially identity verification. We are going to verify that you're a person that exists and that you're not a robot, essentially. So KYC is not applicable to all people, so it doesn't apply to all the users. It only applies in some cases. Typically, currently, it mostly targets ambassadors and node runners. So that's the current state of things. But the idea is that the dashboard is going to ask you explicitly to fill it up if you need to fill it up. So for information, KYC, the KYC feature of the dashboard is only unlocked once you have submitted your address, your main address. And this is something you need to be aware of. So don't look for KYC if you have not filled up the address yet. Initially, after we launched the KYC process, there were a few hiccups. So there were some issues with webhooks that have been corrected. So some of you had pending or blocked folders. They have been reprocessed. So feel free to check again and see if it's fine. In case your KYC is rejected, we are going to add the option to directly contact the provider that does that. So it's not Massa, it's an accredited provider called Synapse. So you'll be able to file bugs to them directly. Of course, don't panic. You have until December 6th to do the whole process. You still have 1 week. So if there's any issues, we can fix them in the meantime. And that's about it for the KYC.
Cool. And people are also wanting to know about the Node Runner rewards. Like, will they be rewarded as promised, and how are the amounts calculated, and how's that going to happen, and how's the vesting going to work?
So for the node rewards, it's still the paper that we have published before that explains exactly the formulas that holds. Nothing has changed there. Node runners will be rewarded as promised. However, the exact amount of tokens depends on the number of node runners that actually pass the KYC and give us their address. So we are waiting for December 6th, essentially, to have a full idea of how many node runners have actually passed all the KYC process to be able to move forward for the ones that need the KYC, because some don't. And so once we have gone through all of that, we'll have an exact idea, and we'll be able to give you more precise, exact values in terms of tokens. Also, we will come back to the node runners very soon to ask the ones who want to be initial stakers, so the people who want to be there at the very first runs of the network. And it's interesting because it's at that point that there's going to be the lowest number of stakers, and therefore the highest rewards. When it comes to vesting, it stays as promised in the paper, 30% release initially, plus 70% released over 2 years, linear. And that's about it for node runners.
Okay. The next two questions I can answer, but you're welcome to as well. One is about the rewards for the non-node runners, people who have participated in quests and Galaxy and Zealy, as well as the winner of the obvious clues game and everything. And that answer is that's going to be announced soon. You're not forgotten, and that setting up the rewards and everything is what's happening right now. And then the other question, which is of course on everybody's mind, which I can say as much or as little about as Damir, is when mainnet and when's the sale and when's the listing. And the answer is we're not allowed to say exactly the details. We can't say it, but it is really moving forward. It's really soon. It will be announced very soon. And everything, some of the administrative tasks took longer than we expected on the legal and on coordinating with the various partners. There were a lot of I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed, but it is happening. That's all I can say. If Damir wants to add any non-color to that, go ahead. But that's what we have, and I'm very excited, and it is very soon.
Yeah, I want to say that I'm very excited about what's upcoming. I'm very frustrated myself to not be allowed to communicate more about it. So we really cannot wait to tell you what's going on.
Yeah. Okay, some questions that we can answer right now, that we are allowed to answer right now, are some tech questions, and that's you. So how do you onboard future node operators?
So first of all, the existing node operators, so the people who run the testnet typically, they are going to enter first in the system, and therefore they're going to get the maximum rewards. So that's simple math there for the initial stakers. Then, for those who have read the white paper carefully, you'll see that there is something we call the 100K nodes program. So in some time later, after launch, once Massa reaches a bit more traction and more visibility with all the projects that are going to build on it, we are going to launch this program that's going to incentivize people to join the network and run more nodes. The goal is to reach, okay, we hope 100K. That's kind of the name of the project, but in general, to grow the node running massively, to make the network even more robust, more decentralized, etc. And of course, for this to work, we need to be able to reach a wider audience of node runners. And for this, we want to make node running even simpler, better documented, and just more smooth in general.
And how many node operators will there be?
So initially, there will be something like what we had on testnet, uh, so between 4,000 and 8,000. Later, as it grows, we expect 10 times more. So we'll see how the growth occurs. And of course, we are going to be ready with the 100K nodes program to incentivize more people coming to the network. And we believe that once they're there, they're going to stay because they're going to see that it makes total sense.
Okay, and what's the minimum amount of massa that people would have to stake to be involved, even after we hit mainnet?
So this hasn't changed since the testnet actually. It's still 100 massa for one role. So once you have 100 massa, it's enough for you to buy one role and therefore participate in the staking. And
Okay.
yeah, and the minimal system requirements have not moved. It's still 8 cores, 16 GB RAM, 1 TB disk, just like in the FAQ.
All right, so that's very, very, very cheap. I mean, that really ties in with the decentralization thesis that it's very easy to get involved, and it increases the accessibility and the security of the network to have so many people have it be so easy to get involved. Um, is version 27 of the Massa node, Massa client, is that the mainnet version, or is there going to be something else?
So it is functionally almost identical to the mainnet version. Of course, we are still running the bug bounty program. So as either builders or runners or people who are playing with the system file some bugs or tickets, we act on them and we fix them. So functionally, the node should not change. Fundamentally, it should be the same. The address format is the same. The private key format is the same. The only changes will be slightly better UX, essentially, and better security and bug fixes. So currently, the versions for the testnet were tagged test.20something.x. This is the mainnet is going to be tagged main.1.x. So it remains the same naming as for the testnet, but with main as the network part.
Okay, but what about the wallet? Is there a compatible wallet with that?
Yes, so even the current wallets will be compatible with mainnet. So we are not going to change the wallet standard before mainnet because people have already used this wallet to generate the addresses that we have asked. That's because we're ready on that standpoint, and we are ready to gather addresses.
Okay, and multiple people have asked, about node installation instructions. So, how are people going to be able to learn how to do that?
So, of course, there's people who have already done the testnet. For those, it's pretty straightforward. It's essentially the same. But of course, for the newcomers and also as a refresher, we are going to write very clear instructions and also learn from the difficulties people had in testnet to make sure that everything is very clear and very smooth since the beginning.
Okay, and then for the Massa token, what's the utilities of it? In the long run, is it going to attach or utilize in a real world asset, or what's the token going to be used for?
So the Massa token is essentially the gateway to the whole Massa ecosystem. So it can be used in all the Massa projects of the ecosystem. It can be staked on chain to produce blocks, for example, and win tokens in exchange. It can also be staked in DeFi platforms on Massa. Of course, it also has a fundamental utility, which is to pay gas and storage. And of course, after Massa is bridged with other systems, either the real world economy and also other blockchains, you'll be able to freely exchange it against other assets. So it has all these utilities together.
Okay. And the rest of the questions are kind of for me. I mean, I can just looking at them, they're just what's the future going to look like? You know, like firstly, what is the problem that Mass is trying to solve, and what's the benefit? Um, the answer to that one is that we are the chain that we put our money where our mouth is, and we actually solve the problem of decentralization. I've been to a bunch of conferences, and a lot of them talk about, oh, we solved the blockchain trilemma with scaling, security, and decentralization. But when you look at it, they don't, or they're not really decentralized. And we are radically, fanatically committed to being truly decentralized across all layers of the protocol. And that will be with governance, that is with tokenomics, that is with all the layers, middle layers, but also it's with our tech, and that's something at the core that nobody else has. What I'm talking about are, we have on-chain web where you can have, decentralized web and front ends that are uncensorable and unhackable, so you won't have any of the problems that have been taking down so much of Web3 in the last year. And also, we have autonomous smart contracts, which won't rely on anything centralized to have to wake them up, or won't rely on keepers or bots or anything. And they can self-activate depending on various conditions, and that will not only make it truly decentralized, but will allow for a lot of functionality in various dApps that hasn't been seen before in crypto. They could be self-evolving NFTs. They could be in games. They could be especially in DeFi. And we've got ecosystem projects now working with that and leveraging our autonomous smart contracts to do things that really have only been seen in centralized exchanges or in TradFi. Um, People are asking about the marketing of it, like, okay, the tech is good, and are we going to market it? I mean, the answer is, of course. The marketing has gone really well over the last year. If you look at our socials and engagement, for example, we were at 15,000 on Twitter. Now we're at about 46. We were at about 30,000 on Discord at the beginning of the year. Now we're north of 100,000. And the community has been very engaged. It's not like bots or anything, but other projects are saying, "Wow, how do you guys do it?" And a lot of it is the community. We have a very active and engaged ambassador program. We've got people that really believe in the mission, and it's the great community worldwide that has led to this. Also, we had a Quest campaign. People could engage in on-chain activities with the ecosystem, and we got, in a matter of 2 months, we got over 60,000 unique wallets participating in that. After mainnet, we're going to be really focusing on our grants program. Other projects might tout larger grants programs where it's like, everybody gets a car, but then it turns out, either that they just give money wantonly, and that's not good in a bear market, or they promise it but don't give it because they say, well, okay, you haven't hit your traction metrics. My philosophy on grants is that it shouldn't necessarily be used to bootstrap a project, but that it should, incentivize and help support. but the main goal of our grants program will be to get projects built on Massa that show off the unique strengths of our chain, that show off our on-chain web and especially our autonomous smart contracts, and that show off our commitment to decentralization that really makes us special. So that's going to be a big one after mainnet. And I guess the last thing that people are asking is about the future roadmap. And, that's really kind of the same question, just to get us to mainnet as quickly and as securely as possible. And that is happening. And the other is really to at that point really expand the ecosystem and to interconnect with the crypto ecosystem at large. So yeah, those are pretty much the main questions that we've gotten uh, in a nutshell. And yeah, I'm really excited for this very uh, last push toward the birthing of mainnet. And this really is it, and it's happening. And I couldn't be more excited. And it's especially from the community who's been just so passionate and so engaged, and as Damir has said, so patient with the delays that when we release, which is, as I say, imminent, that it's going to be something really special. So thank you. And do you have any final words, Damir?
Not much. Thank you, Brian, for all the summary. I'm going to send special thanks to the community, of course, at large. We have an amazing community. We're blessed with them. But we are also very grateful to the ambassadors, all the types of ambassadors we have, all the builders we have. They've been super engaged, super useful. They also have guided us in the directions we have taken. Actually, many of the decisions we have taken were guided by ideas also from ambassadors. So thank you all for this, and it's very important for us.
That's exactly right. Yeah. All right. So yeah, thanks everybody, and yeah, stay tuned. There's going to be some more and very good announcements coming soon. So yeah, we'll see you next time. Cheers.